Hi everyone, I hope you're having a good day. And today we're going to talk about LiDAR and how this technology is going to be helpful in retail or banking. So, first of all, I invited Gerald to speak with me today. So, Gerald, please introduce yourself and actually the Quanergy as a company.
Thank you, Eve. Thanks for having us. So first and foremost, hi everybody. My name is Gerald Becker. I am the VP of Market Development and Alliances for Quanergy. And to sum it up at a high level, Quanergy develops and manufactures LiDAR. And what the LiDAR does for specific markets in the physical security space is it provides a whole new level of understanding from a 3D aspect. Um, Albeit a lot of us have been working with two-dimensional cameras and seeing what cameras can see from the onset. Um, 3D LiDAR can actually see things in a new perspective where you can actually zoom in, look at things from the top down, from the bottom up, from the sides, and actually understand what's going on within the whole environment. And it provides a whole new way to actually understand workflows, how to visualize things within a setting as far as traffic flow, flow management, and objects moving in and out of space. There's a plethora of different use cases that we could talk about, but primarily in this day and age that we're dealing with flow management because of the pandemic and coming out of the pandemic is trying to understand where people are at, how dense the crowds are, counting how many people are within certain environments, and how to automate the flow of people going in and out for social responsibility, health precautions, and so on and so forth.
So if I understand correctly, the technology is completely different from the camera because the camera gives you, in the end of the day, 2D image, and even if you do some analytics, you should work with 2D in sort of way. With the LiDAR technology is the 3D sensor, right? So and that allows it to be more precise. So what is your kind of definition of what difference when we do analytics on the camera and we do it with the LiDAR technology?
Yeah, so there's quite a big difference from cameras to LiDAR. Cameras, you can obviously understand RGB spectrum, you can understand color, you can understand biometric features, you can do a plethora of different things. On the opposite side with LiDAR, we don't know who people are. We can't tell color, we can't read signs. So there's an aspect of it regarding PII, GDPR, where from a security and privacy perspective, it's fairly easy to deploy in the sense that you're not going to have any issues with understanding personal identifiable information. So that never comes into play. But as far as analytics goes, there's very similar paths in regards to understanding objects, albeit with cameras, you require computer vision, or sometimes it can run on the camera. With ours, we look at a point cloud, which is basically that 3D representation of all the lasers that hit certain objects. And from there, we're able to understand moving objects within the field of view. We can identify three specific objects, one being vehicles, the other one being people, and the third classification which is unidentified objects. In that case, it's typically like foliage or animals or any of those type of subcategories.
That's interesting. So, and what does it tell us about the coverage? So, let's say we're talking about retail or we're talking about the banking branch. So, how many sensors you would need, or what are the types of the sensor you would think of? And again, how it compares to the same? I mean, we have this analytics on the camera. So, what is the difference in the setup with the camera?
Okay, so that's a great question. That unpacks a lot of different things. So first and foremost, we have two different types of sensors. We have a solid state sensor, which is typically like a camera, where it's an overhead position installation, where basically people coming in and out at a pinch point, and that'll count people coming into a venue, a property, a bank, a retail setting, and people going out. We also have a mechanical solution, which is basically about the size of a coffee mug or so, and inside of it, there's a spinning turret. Inside, while that's spinning in circles, it's shooting lasers in a 360 environment. And from there, we can actually see a whole 3D space from a 360 field of view. Albeit you can get so much with a camera, and cameras will only ever be able to see what's in front of it as far as optics. It won't be able to see what's beside it, what's behind it, what's on the bottom. With our sensor, we could see all completely around the sensor, and we can understand everything that's going on within the environment. So when you start putting camera to sensor in a big environment, you may get a lower TCO going with our sensor versus a camera, because you're going to require less sensors with a LiDAR, and you're going to require less labor, and ultimately make a lot sense to just go ahead and sprinkle a couple LiDAR sensors in a big environment for a venue to understand the flow of people and traffic, so on and so forth. Unlike with cameras, in some scenarios, you may need a lot more cameras to actually deploy that same application, that same use case. So at the end of the day, I think that there's a harmony between camera and LiDAR where we can automate the process with, say, PTZ cameras using our sensor to zoom into an area of interest based on an alarm event. But at the same token, you can cover so much more with one of our sensors if you're going with the mechanical sensor, which ultimately may allow you to deploy quicker, faster, and a lot more affordable in that sense.
Okay, so if I rephrase it and you correct me, so let's say I'm a retailer who is thinking to implement business intelligence solution. We can think of adding a lot more cameras because you need to cover the full area to understand a customer's behavior. Or you can implement 1 or 2 LiDARs, which is going to cover the same area. And also it will have more precise video analytics because it actually this not video analytics, because it has this 3D point of view. And I think that we need to mention that, of course, when you compare the price of the camera to the price of the LiDAR, it's going to be much higher with the LiDAR. But when you take in consideration all of the calculations on how many cameras you need, how many cameras you need to set up analytic on, how many cameras you need to maintain this analytics, that's where the business case starts to be very reasonable.
Mm-hmm. You hit it on the nail. That's absolutely the perfect way to think about it. Albeit, a LiDAR sensor will be slightly higher than what is in reference to a camera. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to the TCO, the total cost of ownership. When you deploy X amount of cameras versus only a couple sensors, the amount of labor is going to come down, the amount of cable is going to come down, the amount of days and support to actually get that system up and running because the orchestration you need to do for the analytics to work perfectly. It starts to make a lot more sense to deploy a LiDAR-based solution in a big open environment for that scenario when you're trying to do business intelligence, understanding footfall, density, tracking of people, queue lines, so on and so forth.
Yeah, and we're not talking about the deter function of the video, or we're not talking about the functions when we actually monitor this incidents or recording the incident. It's completely different type of video analytics, which sometimes edit on the camera. But again, the question needs to be, do I need that many cameras? And especially I can think of my customers like luxury brands. They don't want to scare customers with a lot of cameras. So to add something to the design of the luxury shop or the banking branch, you don't want to scare away customers with the camera on every 2 meters because it's completely unnecessary. But if you really want to understand the flow, if you want to understand the crowd, the waiting lines with the high accuracy as well, you do need this coverage.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it goes without saying, we had a reference, an account that we're actually working on that was going to be deploying these type of business intelligence analytics to understand what was going on within their retail setting. And they had two different paths that they could take. It was obviously the camera base with using a third-party analytic to understand the business metrics, or using our sensor and developing the integration with a dashboard that allowed them to get that understanding. And when they went with the camera side, it turned out to be anywhere from 16 to 20 or so cameras, which I don't need to tell the story again. I mean, that's a lot of labor, a lot of cameras, a lot of orchestration. When we came in with our sensors, we literally put one sensor on each side of the store, and basically they enveloped each other. So basically they were able to cover the whole store with just 2 sensors, and being able to provide that whole 360 just allowed them to understand a whole new level of understanding, from ID handoff that was seamless from sensor to sensor, understanding the complete path that people were taking inside the store, how long they were staying within a certain environment, provided a whole new understanding that was just a lot easier, a lot more elegant to deploy for them in the long haul.
And from the integration or unification perspective, I just like to add that when you add any technology, LiDAR, cameras, video analytics on the standalone solution, just think about integrating in under one umbrella, because then you can get more value from the video. Then you can synchronize video information with the LiDAR analytics and so on. Because the same information can be the wrong direction going. It can be something like the crowd density and social distancing. So many operational analytics which can be combined, and security analytics which can be combined with the video for verification, but also minimize amount of the sensors which is responsible for video analysis. So I think my next question is, where can we find out more about this technology? Like, do you have any maybe webinars coming up, or on the website? Where should we go?
Absolutely. So we're very active with you guys at Genetech. So you can obviously reach out to any Genetech sales team and or engineering team. We're very active on socials, so social networks, so you guys can see all new up and coming webinars. As far as, and I do want to touch on your point earlier, as far as the integration side. We do have 4 different plugins that were developed in partnership with Genetech. So they cater to all different use cases, from social distancing, counting, traffic, understanding queues, so on and so forth. And those 4 different plugins are available now to actually consume and be able to deploy into the world with our sensors. So definitely reach out to any Genetech personnel, or reach out to the Quanergy team, and we can do a demonstration and or POC for you guys to test out. But as it pertains to where we're at, what we're doing, just follow us on LinkedIn. Our LinkedIn is very active. You'll see me posting all the time on new webinars and new insight as to how LiDAR can be used in the physical security space. And we look forward to expanding this partnership in cooperation with Genetech globally.
Thank you, Gerald. It was a great having you today. So I hope to see you soon. And thank you, everyone, for listening. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel as well for more conversations like this. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.